hovering your driver better than not hovering? I'm going to discuss the reasons why I hover the driver and when I do, and if it's better or worse. So we see a lot of people in the European Tour. Some people like to hover this driver, some people like to lay it down on the ground behind. Now, there's two ways in which I do this. Now, the first point is, on a general shot with driver, I don't like to hover it. So if I was hitting a normal shot, for example, I wasn't hitting into wind, I would definitely feel like I would leave that driver down on the deck and not hover it. Now, the important point to think about here is we don't feel like we've got this driver working and pressing into the ground, because this will make it very hard to take the club away, and also feel like we've got a little bit of tension working through the body during the golf swing. That's certainly not something we want to have. So how I would work through my routine here is, when I don't hover the driver, I feel like I just rest it down behind, almost, I imagine there's an egg but underneath that driver head. So we don't want to crack the egg. So the feeling is, rest the club on top of the egg, don't crack the egg, and this allows us to keep everything fluid, and ultimately we don't feel like we're pressing this driver into the ground, because sometimes I see this on the first tee, especially in pressured moments, when people don't hover the driver to begin with, they press this driver into the ground, and then it sometimes gets stuck on the takeaway, and it makes it very hard to pull this club away. So the expression I would use is, if you're not going to hover the driver, feel like we're pressing the driver down on top of an egg, so it's nice and fluid, the grip pressure stays nice and light, and we can pull the trigger. So press it down on the egg, hit it. So what's the situation when I would hover it? Now, this is something that I've kind of found through playing, so ultimately trusting my game and finding out what happens in certain conditions. So I would hover the driver when I'm looking to hit a low one into wind. Now, whether this actually affects performance, it does to me, because I think it does. Because I find it a little bit easier to hit that more of a knuckle ball when I'm hovering the driver. So this is the point at which I would. So what do I do? Part of the routine, club in, build my stance around it, and from here I feel like I keep that club hovered above the ground, and I would feel like I always keep that club moving. I generally don't like to feel that club stay still for a long period of time. I would keep it moving, keep it fluid, and really feel like that golf club never is stationary in the air. I think if it's stationary in the air, sometimes, again, like we said before, it's very tension, it's harder to pull this club away. Whereas now, if we can keep it fluid above the ball, it allows our whole golf swing to remain fluid. And it's just simple key points like this which will definitely help us improve our golf game and allow you to make a decision to whether you should hover it or you shouldn't hover it. So let's hit this one now. It's nice and hovered, keeping it fluid. Take this club away. So that's how I play my knuckle ball, and definitely something I do out on the golf course in windy conditions. Tee a little bit lower sometimes, maybe not, but definitely the thing that stays consistent is I like to hover my driver in windy conditions. Whether this has an effect on performance, on TrackMan numbers, it's hard to say, but for me, definitely I see a difference in performance in terms of being able to produce that low ball flight when I hover the driver. I'd also recommend, if you're someone who finds it hard to bring the club away or finds it hard to actually stop being tense over the golf ball, I would definitely recommend that. I'd like to see you hover this golf ball club above the golf ball and keep it fluid, like I said. And if you're someone who prefers to keep it on the ground, don't feel like you crack that egg underneath the driver head. Feel like you're resting it on the ground, don't crack the egg, pull the trigger. And it's simple points like this will definitely help your performance, but also make your decisions to whether you want to feel like you hover it or you don't hover the driver. You've got my insight. Windy conditions, I like to hover the driver. I feel like I can hit it a little bit lower. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and comment down below, do you like to hover the driver or not hover the driver? Thank you for watching, and see you next time.